I've been up on my mountaintop busy compiling, as you say, this deep dive dossier, and I hope that people not only read it and digest it, but share it, because it's really information that's meant to be acted on. And it's not a manufactured crisis, as you have laid out. It's an existential crisis that we're facing, and I really believe that our president needs the support of the American people, because we are up against so much, whether it's the left-wing amnesty activists and radicals who have hijacked so many of our public institutions and are out there on the streets threatening our ICE agents, whether it's the big business forces that collude with nonprofits and charities like the Catholic Church and the Vatican. I'm Catholic. I'm baptized as a Catholic, proud graduate of a Catholic high school, but when I hear the current Pope undermine our American sovereignty and then accuse us Catholics who believe in immigration enforcement and the rule of law as somehow abandoning our faith, that needs to be pushed back against too. And it was just last week that the Pope was taking pride in being criticized by brave Catholics out there willing to call him to the carpet. It's $1 billion industry for the Vatican to undermine our borders and bring people here illegally.
Well, I mean, and we haven't brought up the cost factor, but, I mean, that's secondary to if we're not protecting the American people. To me, that has to be priority number one. But the impact over time, I mean, we're talking about trillions of dollars when you add up the cost of the educational system, our healthcare system, our criminal justice system, and how many more times are we going to have illegal immigrant criminals? I'll say the 1%, not the 99, that commit atrocious crimes against Americans, in some cases rape and murder and other violent crimes, and then they are aided and abetted by sanctuary cities and states that refuse to comply with federal immigration laws and will not turn even those people getting out of jail over to ICE for deportation. That's problematic for me, like in the case of the cop shot last week.
Absolutely. And what you see time and again is with this burgeoning abolish ICE movement that is threatening our public safety and our national security. They are underwritten by the usual suspects, the George Soroses of the world, the Tides Foundation. I've got over 400 organizations that I have named that have metastasized across the country. And this is the, great tactic of the left, is they have a gazillion names. You can't keep track of them. That's why I wrote the book. How many people have asked you and have asked me over the years, well, who are these people? Where's this money coming from? Well, it's not just left-wing philanthropy. These are tax-exempt organizations that operate as nonprofits when they really are, in essence, human traffickers. Montgomery County, where there are now 8 illegal alien criminal rape suspects that have terrorized not just American citizens, but other people who are here legally or illegally. They have essentially been sponsored by Catholic charities and Casa de Maryland, which was once headed by, the current DNC chair, Tom Perez. The radical open borders faction of the Democrat Party has become the mainstream, and we'll certainly see that on full display during the debates later this week.
The amount of money you're identifying in this book is pretty shocking to me, and that's money that is dedicated to this one specific issue. Now, I don't know why the Democrats find, in spite of all the polls showing Americans believe that, we need to secure the border, and they, not that long ago when Obama's second term were supporting it, why they would look at a 70-30 issue like this and think they're going to double down on stupid and they're going to say it's manufactured and contradict just what they said a couple of years ago. Is it money also that helps get them reelected?
Absolutely. And it is this vicious cycle of taking money from these left-wing groups, siphoning it away from the federal government. I mean, that's what's so shocking, is that billions of dollars, at least $55 billion has been estimated to be the annual cost of illegal immigration to taxpayers at the local, state, and federal level. But on top of that, you have programs that are bringing people here ostensibly legally, like the Refugee Resettlement racket, where you have all of these nonprofit groups that are explicitly anti-Trump, and for open borders Democrats. And I mentioned Catholic Charities. There's the Lutheran Immigrant and Refugee Services. They're making billions of dollars, and I track all of that money to bring people like Ilhan Omar here, who then turn around and call for the United Nations to take over our borders.
Unbelievable. You know, the whole thing to me is beyond absurd. Listen, I don't want to be very clear because I don't like the way that conservatives like us are often portrayed. We love people. We understand. My 4 grandparents all came from Ireland. I support immigration. I support legal immigration. But they did it legally. They went through Ellis Island. I even have I went back and got the documents. They're all framed up and they're in my house. But that's the point. Just do it legally. We want to make sure in this day and age that we vet people before they come in. And simultaneously, I think you've got to prove that you are able to take care of yourself while you are here, and that otherwise, welcome to our country. That's it.
Absolutely. And I think that we have to be unapologetic and not bow to the forces of political correctness. But more importantly, of course, where does this onslaught come? These constant ad hominem attacks where we have to be on the defensive about basic principles of sovereignty. Well, there's a whole chapter in the book on the Southern Poverty Law Center and its acolytes that spend every single day, every single waking moment and second turning our expression, our free speech, to uphold the rule of law as somehow, quote-unquote, hate speech. And you see, we've seen it every single day.
I mean, we've experienced this.
Right?
How many years have we been on the air together? And
yes, 20 plus.
23 plus years, exactly. All right, Michelle Malkin, we put it up. We featured it on Hannity.com. It's called Open Borders, Inc., Who's Funding America's Destruction. She identifies, first of all, she's compiled 500 pages here and 12 appendix and maps tracing billions of dollars spent or received by 400 plus nonprofits and all these other groups, 1,600 plus footnotes in this book. And she's challenging a lot of people here. Anyway, it's up on Hannity.com, Amazon.com, and in bookstores everywhere. Right, as we continue, our friend Michelle Malkin is out with a brand new book. It's called Open Borders, Inc., Who is Funding America's Destruction. We have it up on Hannity.com, Amazon.com, bookstores everywhere. I don't think people understand the amount of money that you're talking about, that you go into great specific detail in your book about, identifying 400 plus nonprofits, religious charities, legal organizations, lobbying groups, etc. How much money are we talking about?
I haven't totaled it all up because it keeps growing, but we are literally talking about trillions of dollars. And I'm talking about all aspects of what essentially is a criminal smuggling conspiracy that is worldwide. I mean, just the annual revenue from southern border smuggling alone is between $4 and $4.2 billion. We've talked about Donald Trump promising to tax remittances, which would be a huge boon to helping pay for further southern border security for us. Well, remittances from illegal and legal alien workers in the U.S. to Mexico, that's going back to their country last year, $34 billion. There are massive incentives to draw people across the border, and you wonder why all of these illegal alien parents, are paying coyotes to haul their kids across the desert. Well, the Trump administration is doing the best it can to end that catch and release racket that is exploiting children, and, goodness knows. I mean, here we are, accused of not having compassion. The last thing that we should be doing is supporting this enabling of what happens to these kids on the trail with total strangers making up fake families to get into the country. It's a disgrace. And the illegal alien lawyers lobby, which is supported by George Soros, is right in the middle of it there to lure people through.
The thought that people, what is their motivation in this?
Well, there's a number, and we've just talked about the pure financial incentives here. For a lot of the religious organizations, for the Vatican, for the Lutheran Church, it's about filling up their pews, which have been increasingly emptied as Americans abandon their faith. and then filling them with illegal aliens who will be amnestied and provide them a source of income and fill up their collection plates. But then, as we know, Sean, and we've talked about so many times over the years, for the Democrats, it's about securing a permanent ruling majority, and we're not supposed to talk about it. They call us conspiracy theory nuts when we talk about the fact that all of these
real quick, what you're saying is they believe demographic shifts will favor them electorally, and I only have about 20 seconds.
Yeah, no question about it. The percent of congressional districts with foreign-born populations above the national average that were Democrat is nearly 90%. You can see what's happening down the pike, and rationally it makes sense for them. But for the rest of the country, it is existential suicide.
All right. Michelle Malkin, her brand new book just out today, Open Borders, Inc., Who's Funding America's Destruction. Amazon.com, Hannity.com. Find it in bookstores near you. Michelle, dear close personal friend, and her daughter, she's talked publicly about, is doing amazing in the last email you sent me, and we're